Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Masters of the Universe Tuesday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Masters of the Universe Masterverse New Adventures of He-Man Slush Head. Let's get into it! Let's start our intergalactic adventure with a look at the packaging. And here on the top, 30 points of articulation, a hook, and a barcode. Masterverse on the top flap, and that nice scrolly, cracked, engraved artwork that is soon going to change from this packaging. It's going to be something different. 6 and up, nice big window showcasing the figure and his many accessories. He-Man from the New Adventures of He-Man. Slush Head. Mattel. On the bottom, conforms to safety requirements. Yada, yada, yada. Small print, fine print, legalese print, made in Vietnam print, MattelShop.com print. Contents, one figure accessories, a question mark, symbols I'm not going to learn, and a barcode. On this side, Slush Head, Scaly Space Mutant Enforcer. And then on this side, we have some nice artwork of said evil Scaly Enforcer. And then on the back, some more of that nice artwork of said Scaly Enforcer. And here, let's see what it says. Slush Head, Scaly Space Mutant Enforcer. Whereas his comrades are notorious for their ruthlessness in combat, the simple Slush Head enters battle with what can only be described as childish glee. Second in command to flog the Space Mutant's field commander may be simple, but there are few in the universe more dangerous than the grotesque swamp water breathing Slush Head. And again, that nice artwork. And then here's the cross sale. Revelation Merman, Princess of Power Grizzlor, New Eternia Buzzoff, and New Eternia Faker, also available, each sold separately. Colors and decorations may vary. Mattel, empowering the next generation through play. And that, my friends, is a look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figure and his accessories. And there is a lot of accessories with this guy, guys. And let's start off with his primary weapon, which can be held this way, and it's a laser blaster of some kind. Or it can be held by the barrel, and you can see right here it's got a blade. So it can also be used as a axe or hatchet. So that's a neat little weapon. Now we've got handy dandy tweezers here to help us take a look at his two extra sets of hands, left and right. And here we have a fist on an in and out hinge. And I'm not sure whether we've had this hand in the line or not before. And then here is the corresponding fist. Nice colors, nice molded detail. And you can see there's a bit of a overlay on the hands. Same holds true here. You can see he's got webbing in between his fingers. Again, on an in and out hinge. And let's flip it around. Let's look at this side. So nice molded details. And we may have seen this hand before on a merman. Perhaps, I don't remember right off. And that same spray like overlay just to highlight things just a bit. And in and out hinge again as well. Now here is the alternate head, and very 80s 90s cartoon looking. Nice paint on the eyes and around the eyes, and the teeth, and around the mouth too. There's some subtle shading going on in some of the areas here on the face, just to kind of help some of the details stand out. So it's very, I think it's very nice looking, even though he's kind of goofy looking. And there we have this bubbly liquid piece, and we'll talk about that more in a bit. Now he's got these 4 mechanical arms, and they do have hinges on them at the end, and once they're plugged in they will swivel around. So it's got hinge and swivel, and this one is like an anchor looking hook, and we have like a claw type hook, and there's no articulation in it here. That would have been a nice touch for it to do that. And then here's one that looks kind of like a trident, and again, nothing, no ball joint or anything up here, which again would have been a nice touch, but at least they did give us a hinge here on the back of all of them. And then here's like a pincher type claw, and again, no ball joint or hinge or anything like that. Then he's got 2 backpacks, which can be one backpack or used individually. And you can see it's got ports all over it for the mechanical arms to go, and it's got a ball joint right here, and we'll talk about that in a minute as well. And then here's his other backpack, and again, it's got ports for the arms, or the other piece of the backpack can plug in here as well. Try to get all that out of the way. Alright, now here we have Slush head, and he's got his other head that has like the jaws on it. J-A-W-L-S, jaws, not jaws, J-A-W-S. And on the inside of the dome, there is a little bit of dry brush, it looks like, going on to kind of show it's slimy and yucky inside there. And as far as this head sculpt goes, it's got that nice shading for some of the detailing, just like the alternate head. It's got 2 ports here in the back for the backpacks. He's got this piece here, which is a separate piece. Got a little bit of paint apps on here on the armor piece, and then it looks like this might be paint apps too, like on the belt, and then his trunks, I suppose, and then his shin guards as well look like they might also be painted. So overall, I mean, it's kind of a cool, he's goofy looking in a way, but he's also kind of scary looking, you know, for little kids. So maybe that's why he's also kind of goofy looking. Let's talk about his articulation. We can't really talk about the head articulation because of the dome over his head, but it tilts up, back, chicken neck, Scott Waggle. It will do the full exorcist. At the shoulder, 360 degrees of rotation there, and the arm raises up about 90 degrees. We'll call that 90 degrees, it's close enough. Double hinged pinless elbow. And let's see, I did have to dip this guy in some warm water to loosen him up a bit, but there's how much bend you get with the elbow. And then at the wrist, it's in and out hinges again on C grips, and they both do it, and or they are both that way, and they both in and out hinges, and they're both 360 degree rotation. He does kind of have the standard Masters of the Universe Masterverse torso with the cut where the chest and the abdomen meet, and it'll give you a little bit of hula with the armor on, and it'll tilt back about that far, and forward about that far. Now with the armor on, let's see, that cut will still give you a full 360 degrees of rotation, and then you also get it here at a straight cut there at his waist. You get another 360 degree rotation. He's a little bit older figure, so he does not have the pull down hinge in the hip, so he gives you that much of the splits. He can kick forward that far and backwards just slightly. Cut here at the upper thigh for a full 360 degree rotation. Double hinged pinless knee, and let's see if it's still loose from where I warmed him up, and it is enough to get it in position, so I may have warmed it enough to break it loose permanently. So, but anyway, he gets that much bend at the knees. There is a cut here at the mid shin for a boot cut, gives you 360 degrees worth of rotation. At the ankle, tilts down that far, tilts up that far, and he has forward facing pin for rocker. Now, something I wanted to mention about this guy is this accessory. Now, in the box, it comes with this piece on it, and you know, that's fine. But I've also seen pictures floating around, or at least one picture floating around the internet, where you take his alternate head, and at least I'm assuming it's this figure and maybe not a classics figure, but you take this head and then you take the dome from his armor piece here, and it's supposed to go down over it so that his head is still dome. However, this dome is glued into place. It does not come loose. I've pried at it, I've heated it up and pried at it, and I cannot get it loose. So it seems like maybe mid-production or close to the end of production, they may have changed their mind about this function, but that picture's still out there, and it kind of ticks me off a little bit, because it's like they took a feature away from the figure rather than adding to it, and I don't see how it would have affected the cost one way or the other. It actually might have made it cheaper because you wouldn't have had to use the glue. But anyway, the picture I've seen of it, it's like this with his head on it, and then the dome is over it. So I don't know if that's a thing he did in the cartoon, or if it was something that they thought about adding to it, and they did it in the pre-production part of the process and then just didn't follow through with that, or maybe the factory flubbed up. Who knows? I don't know. But anyway, you would take that piece, you know, put it together like that. This piece would go on the figure where the other dome came off. And then you would basically kind of have two figures for one, but they opted not to go that route. So we'll just put this back together. And then you can plug this into the port separately, and I'm not pushing it in all the way. That's just there. That's in all the way. So it does add a little bit of weight to his back, and you can plug the arms into it. This one I think is supposed to is more apt to fit here more properly, because as you can see, it's got these like donuts on it, and it'll match up with these. And I'm not 100% sure this is the way that it goes, but the pictures I've looked at have this tube piece pointing up. So you can leave it like this, and you can plug the arms into it, or you can also plug this into it, which I think is what's meant to happen, and then you can plug arms into ports however that you would like to, and pose it around. I will tell you, this backpack, double backpack like this, is quite heavy, and it does add to the weight of his back a lot. So, but there you go. You guys get the idea of how you would use that. And he's probably not going to stand up to finish this out, but that's fine. Now, as far as his weapon goes, the only storage he has for that is holding it in his hand. So there we go, my friends. That is a look at Slush Head and his accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Adventures of He-Man, Slush Head, with the Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Adventures of He-Man, Skeletor, and the Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Adventures of He-Man, He-Man. For our final set of comparisons, here we have Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Adventures of He-Man, Slush Head, with, from the Marvel Legends series, making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee, from the G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander, from Star Wars The Black Series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper, and our final Masterverse comparison, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the Masters of the Universe, Masterverse, New Adventures of He-Man, Slush Head, I have to say I was a little surprised by this figure. I wasn't expecting to really like it all. I almost canceled my pre-order on it, and just, I don't know, at the last second I decided I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on pre-order and just check it out and see if it's actually any good, because I'm not really familiar with this character at all. I'm not really familiar with the New Adventures of He-Man other than, you know, some basic stuff. I know this guy's a mutant. I know he likes to rush into battle. At least I think I read that somewhere, and that, you know, the mutants work for Skeletor. And that's really about all I know of this guy. He looks like he's kind of a swamp dweller, maybe. And he has to have slime in his helmet to survive. Maybe he's like partially frog or amphibious, or I'm not exactly sure. But the thing that surprised me the most probably about this figure is the hinges on the ends of the mechanical arms where it plugs into the backpack. I really wasn't expecting it to have a hinge. I'm glad that they did include that in here. It does give the figure some extra points of articulation, and they, you know, they work pretty good like their design. Now, do I wish that they would have expanded on that idea and maybe put at the ends of the arms before the blade or pincher attachments, and, you know, a ball joint there to where the attachments clipped on. Yeah, that would have been nice, and, you know, added a bit more to the figure. But they opted not to do that. And I know another way they could have went. They could have went the way of the bendy arms for that, but I don't really care for those. They don't always work the way that you want them to work, or the way that they're meant to work. Just, I don't know, there's something between the design and the practicality of it that it doesn't always work out the way that it's supposed to. And another thing, the thing that disappointed me about this figure, and I didn't have any idea it was supposed to do this, and maybe in the end it's not, but like I showed in the look at the figure, where you could put the head on the round part of the backpack and it put the 4 tentacles on it and it, you know, walk around. And I don't know what happened there, if that was just something that they did in prototyping and the picture got out, and at the end of the day they decided just to glue the dome that's on over his head now into place on the armor, or if that feature didn't work as well as they thought it would as far as the dome clipping into place. I don't know what happened, but I am disappointed that it's not something you can really do with this figure the way that it is. And I tried, I pried, I heated it up and pried, and I even cut at it a little bit with a scalpel and a X-Acto knife, and just at the end of the day I was more afraid of damaging it than getting it loose in one piece. So I quit, and I said I guess it just wasn't meant to be for that particular accessory to work that way. So there you have it. I do like the subtle shadings on the figure. I think it's nice. The design overall is nice. Now the heads, they look a bit goofy, and you know, that's from the source material, I'm guessing. So I would have liked a more, I don't know, meaner, more monstrous looking head as the secondary head for this guy, rather than, you know, both heads looking a little, you know, leaning towards the silly side. They don't look silly, but, you know, they lean towards that silly look. And I kind of wish that one of those heads had a more serious look, a more monstrous look to it, but alas, Mattel did not give us that. But at the end of the day, even if you're not familiar with the New Adventures of He-Man, like I'm not, this is still a good figure. Now, the backpack does make his back a little heavy, so you have to work at it a little bit, and you can see as he's spinning around here. I don't have both pieces on here because it just didn't work, and I didn't want to have to use a stand on him. So this is how he's going in the display, and I think this looks fine. I like this, and I really like his gun. You know, I think they did a good job on the design of that, where it can be a gun or an axe or hatchet, you know, whatever you want to call it. And so I like that. And again, at the end of the day, even if you don't know about New Adventures of He-Man, this is a very interesting figure, and he's kind of cool. I kind of like it, even with the few faults I found with it that I talked about earlier. Well, that, my friends, does it for the review. I hope that you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view that I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you'd like to see more reviews or just help the channel out further, or both. That's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.